Hey y'all, how's it going at Cyber Saloon? Hope no matter where y'all watching from in the world, hope you are staying warm, and I hope the vibes are good. Here in the Midwestern United States, it's still a little bit frosty, but as I like to say, winter's a good kind of season if you have a bunch of, games in your Steam library that you bought 4 sales ago that you haven't touched. It's always a good time to go kind of try those out, or if a lot of those shows you maybe put on the backlog, especially if you watch anime. There are like 30 to 50 shows in my backlog. I checked it the other day on Crunchyroll, and they're like, well, now's probably a good time to go up and catch up on some of those. But it's always a good time to do that. But today I'm going to be going over the winter anime season. For what we got so far, I'd say it's a mid. It's a good mid. I don't think it's as good as what we got. We were spoiled last year. We had, I think, a really strong summer season. We had great shows like Aya. Kicking off like Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest, ReZero. We got so many shows in the summer and the fall seasons last year that I knew it was like, okay, eventually it's probably going to come to somewhat of a halt. You can't keep churning out that much gold. But for what we have this season, I think we still have a pretty strong winter lineup for what we have, especially you have shows like Solo Leveling. That one's back. We have some other big shows that are kind of back too. I kind of picked out some new ones, the ones that I really enjoy so far this season. There's 2 new ones, and then there's 2 continuing ones that I'm going to be going with this season. The new ones, first up is Fruit Master. This one has a really kind of just feel-good charm to it. I really like it. It's not too different from what you're going to see from most kind of fantasy type in this kind of genre, where it's like, oh, the hero gets some crazy ability that makes him really strong. It's not an isekai. He already exists. Our protagonist Light already exists in this fantasy world. It's kind of so the premise of it is, if you're interested in checking it out, so it's kind of okay, you have a guild system, you have adventures, you have all these monsters and evil people and whatnot, but it's kind of like One Piece, where it's okay, well, if you want to become an adventurer, you have to go to the church, and they give you a fruit. And some fruits are really, really good, and that can give you crazy abilities where you're gonna be you're some crazy good swordsman, or some crazy high end mage who's gonna just lighten up the world. But so it starts with our protagonist, who wants to be have some crazy good sword skill, and his childhood friend Lena, who's going to the church. They both want to be adventurers. He goes there, and he seemingly gets the lamest skill ever, and it's just okay, you're kind of just gonna be a peon, and it's okay, your whole skill is you can just grow fruits really fast. And then Lena, his childhood friend, gets some crazy good sword skill, where she's gonna end up like Fulgrim from freaking Warhammer, and so they're okay, well, we'll meet again eventually, and in his mind it's well, we're probably not gonna meet again. I'm gonna be some low end guy you're not ever gonna see again. But so it kind of turns, and the way that but the way the fruits kind of work in this setting is okay, you can have one life fruit and that's your skill, but if you eat more than another one, it's I don't know if it's an overwhelming thing, or some mana, but you die. So if you accidentally eat another life fruit, or you intentionally, usually it's intentionally, it's people try to get more powers. If you intentionally have another fruit, you just die. But it turns out our main protagonist, Light, his whole ability is okay, he get on top of just growing fruits faster, it's he can ingest multiple skills at a time. So he can gain all these other different skills, which obviously means he's gonna be OP as hell. And then he ends up meeting, and he has this kid that he kind of takes care of, Aya, who accidentally, that's how they discover they have the skill. Aya accidentally gives him a crushed up fruit, it's oh shoot, Jesse, it's just you accidentally gave us you gave me this, he thinks he's gonna die, and he's then he figures out, oh shoot, okay, I can have this other skill, it turns out I can have more than one skill. And then he ends up meeting again with Lena when he goes to the guild, and of course she's with a bunch of just D-bags and just not great characters. And turns out he beats the main guy up, this big old dude who has some crazy sword skill, beats him, and then they kind of form a party. And that's kind of how the series is right now. It's you have Light, Lena, who's his childhood friend, who she has a really good sword skill, and you have Aya. Aya ends up getting this appraiser skill, which she can kind of see the ability of stuff. Honestly, not. Is it deep? Nah. Is it good? Yeah. Is it enjoyable? Yeah. We'll take it. It's just I like what I see so far. Plus, I really like the outro and the intros. They're just really catchy, and it's kind of again, yeah, people die in this kind of show, but it's not really geared a lot towards that. It's a kind of feel good show, and I'm really about it. Especially since one of the other shows I'm going to be watching this season is a little bit dark, but I like what I see so far. If you want to kind of feel good anime, that it's like you got some stakes, but it's not that deep, definitely recommend the Fruit Master one. It's really good. Next on the list, next one we have on the list is I'm Getting Married to a Girl I Hate in My Class. I love this one. Rom-com and slice of life anime are my bread and butter. I love these types of shows. Things like Dress Up Darling, things like Nizukoi. I love Nizukoi to death. I think that's part of the reason I like this series so much, was how much I love Nizukoi. Chitoge, best girl, gonna get downvoted for that. But the premise kind of somewhat reminds me of Nizukoi a little bit, but it's obviously very different. It's not the whole, you have two rival gang factions fighting each other, so they have to make, the two marry each other for that purpose. It's more of, so in this one, the whole premise is, if you like slice of life, you like romance, kind of like anime. In this one, Saito is like the grandson of this super wealthy like CEO. He's like the CEO of this massive like Japanese like conglomerate of companies that owns a bunch of stuff. It's super successful, and in order for him to kind of take over the empire, after the grandpa kind of leaves it to him, is he has to get married to a girl in his class who he does not get along with. Super like tsundere. Her name is Akane, and her grandma and like Saito's grandpa have like a thing, and they've always kind of had a thing, and they, things happened in life, and they were never able to like get together, and until kind of like recently they both kind of did, and they kind of view themselves as like a little bit, they view them like Saito and Akane are like, they view that like it's their younger selves, and they hate that they went through life and they had to do all this stuff, but in reality, they are always kind of longing for each other, like to some degree, and they don't want Akane and Saito to kind of be like that. So their whole ploy is like, Saito's grandpa isn't going to hand off like the conglomerate empire to him. If he doesn't do it, he's going to hand it off to some dog. And then Akane, like her grandma kind of tells her something that makes her like, oh, okay, like, oh, maybe I'll do it. And you can kind of tell they kind of have like a little bit, it's like that love-hate relationship again. Akane's a massive tsundere. So they both kind of have like it's like, okay, so they both agree to kind of marry, and it's like, it's just cute. Like, it's just like, oh, okay, like they make them live in the same house, and Akane's always like so anxious because she thinks that like Saito, like all men are like, oh, he just wants to do stuff, and that's not true. And so it's a good kind of thing too, because they both had it's a good kind of lesson for people to watch. It's like they both have to learn to live with each other, which is great. There's like a good episode where like okay, like Akane makes Saito watch like this ridiculously long cat documentary, which is just as ridiculous as it sounds. But in reality, but because Saito did that for her, Saito gets to choose the next movie. And then because Saito watched that movie with Akane, that like Saito's like, okay, well, you want to play video games? And like Akane's like, I don't want to play video games, I'm gonna hate them. And then like she actually likes them, and so they kind of like swap off, like, oh, since you watch this movie with me, you get to choose the movie next time, instead of like, this cat documentary, you can choose whatever. And then like, oh, because I chose the game this time, you get to choose the game for next. It's a good lesson. Like, it's a good kind of like learning to live with someone, trade-off kind of thing. It was like, okay, you give and you give and take, but in a good way. Like, it's in a good way. And I really love that. I think it's really good so far. The big standout character is she's a absolute just menace of a character. Goofy. The voice actress, you can kind of tell, is having fun with it. She's supposed to be like Saito's little sister. Sure, fits the stereotype that you kind of imagine, but I really like her character. She's just really goofy. Like the part where she's just like, she bites him. She's just like, you've been with another girl, and like, it's really good. I like the show a lot. It's a good, lighthearted kind of like rom-com slice of life, but it has some good lessons in there too. So I would really recommend this one. Love it a lot so far. I can't wait to continue watching it. There's the new series that I'm watching. If you guys have any recommendations, please let me know below. I'm open to most things. Like, again, if you have any slice of life, isekai, throw them in the comments. Like, I'm all here for it. The two continuing series that I'm going to continue, of course, is DanMachi. I think it's 4 more episodes. I think they come back in February, similar to ReZero. So the 4 kind of like final episodes of the 5th season, which finishes off the war game between Hestia and Freya. It's really not between Hestia and Freya. It's basically Freya versus literally everyone else, and her family is just so goated where they're literally just winning at this point. Really love it. I can't wait to see the finale of it. I'm really excited to see Belle fight off against Ulterel. I hope Ai shows up a little bit, because like that's one of the things I wish for DanMachi. Ai's are supposed to be like this catalyst for Belle, and I feel like she doesn't. Like, it's like, okay, you see it in season 1, you see it in season 2, season 3 you definitely see it, but in season 4 it's like, okay, and by now it's like, okay, like I wish she needs to be in a little bit more, because she's the whole reason that Belle's even like his growth skills like going off as much as it is. But we'll see. I love what we got so far. Can't complain about anything else. I really love all the new characters. I'm not going to butcher his name, but I really like the elf guy from the Freya Familia, the blonde one who like is kind of teaching Belle. I like the little triplet guys. Love the healer who gets burned away. The only thing that's come back is her underwear. I love the Freya Familia. They're just the best. The goofiest one is the freaking elf guy who gets like really shy until he goes off on his ability, where he becomes like, it kind of reminds me of like Okarun, like from not DanMachi, but Dan to Dan, where it's like he's really like quiet, but then when he goes into his mode, he's like the uber confident. DanMachi, like one of the Freya Familia is a lot like that. And of course, the next one I'm going to be continuing is ReZero. I really liked it. Was ended off on a good point with Emilia standing up to stand off in her marriage, where it's like, okay, she tells Regulus like, I'm not going to do it. It ends off on a good point, especially where it ends off between Subaru and the crew. I hope we get to see a little bit more of the archbishops. I don't doubt at some point we'll probably see Kinda come back, or in some of the other witches. I hope we get to see Satella again. I hope we get to see Emilia keep doing great things too, because I think her fight with the archbishop was really good in the first like 8 episodes we got. She just shows how strong she is too. But I really like what we got so far from both ReZero and DanMachi. I'm glad that like, okay, well, I'm hoping it's like, okay, if they're gonna stave off the continuation of the cores, it's like, okay, it's generally because they have set like a lot. I'm hoping it's a lot of big material or big moments. They just want to make sure they get the animation right. So I'm really excited. I hope I like what we have so far this season. Can't wait to see the rest of DanMachi and ReZero again for the other series for Fruit Master, and I'm Getting Married to the Girl in My Class to Hate. Recommend those ones. If y'all have any recommendations that y'all think that I might like, or the ones that you guys are watching, be sure to let me know in the comments below. That's all I got for this one, guys. I'm probably working on. I want to make sure I finish it, but I have some other series that I'm probably going to do on the house and Top Shelf for coming up. I think there's a movie that I have in mind that I'm probably going to do, but there's definitely a show. I just have to finish it. But it's a very deservedly, respectfully beloved show to begin with. But those are the ones I'm kind of working on in the background. Again, let me know what y'all watching in the comments below, and let me know. I'll see you on the next one. Take care, y'all.